Hey, Diane, tell me, so are you happy in France? Do you like it there? Well, those are two really big questions and ones that I'm asked on a pretty regular basis. Now, at this point in my life, I can confidently say that I am happy in France without hesitation. But answering a question like that with a simple yes or no is complicated. And I want to talk about, does being in France play a huge role in my overall happiness? And how much does your physical location factor into who you become, and how much should it? That's what we're going to get into here. Bonjour tout le monde, welcome back to We in France. I'm Diane. First, I want to rephrase the question in my intro, are you happy in France? And replace that one word, happy, with content. I feel like contentment is more about this understated foundation of satisfaction and a confidence in knowing that you're okay. Now, on the other hand, happiness, being happy, it's a feeling. It's not this baseline state of being. And I feel that happiness, it's a feeling that can be fleeting from one moment to the next. It's not a constant. It's more of an emotion. We could wake up happy when we see the sun shining or when a friend gives us a compliment. And then on the flip side, we could be really unhappy if we step in dog poop or we read a really negative comment about our YouTube channel. So I'd like to talk about contentment rather than happiness and kind of tackle this question. Are you content in France? Many of these ideas I'm going to be bringing up here, they've been kind of jumbled up in my head for years. I haven't really solidified them into something I could put into words until I sat down to think about this video. And I think where I am now, it has a little bit to do with living abroad, a lot to do with self-reflection, and even more, it's just about living life. You know, you get older, you go through things, you meet new people, you gain this new perspective on everything going on around you. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But I want to kick it off with an article that I read a long time ago. It was about international dating, and I'll link to that below in the description. It outlines 3 things that are absolutely essential to being happy or content, no matter who you are, where you live, and what you do. And these core foundations of life, I feel like they need to be fulfilled to be content. So I'm going to simplify things here, but basically, if you could build a life for yourself that fulfills these core values that I'm going to point out, these core things, for lack of a better word, the mundane annoyances of life are really inconsequential to the overall scheme of things. So number 1, relationship fulfillment. So this could be a relationship in a romantic sense with a significant other, or be really strong relationships with friends and family members. Number 2 is job fulfillment. So working in a field that you believe in, you get a sense of purpose and meaning. You're hopefully appreciated at that workplace, and you could provide for yourself and maybe your family if you have a family. Okay, number 3, it's personal fulfillment, and that includes having enough time, enough energy to pursue the things you like to do, your hobbies. You have enough time to try new things, to do things that make you happy, whatever that means for you. And just to break that down further, I feel like relationship fulfillment, it differs for all of us, but it boils down to being understood by another human being. You know, it's knowing someone has your back. That doesn't necessarily mean a long-term partner or spouse. It can, but it could be a close friend, a close relative, just someone in your life who is supportive, that you can count on. And I feel like our lives, absolutely, to be content, need some type of relationship like this. Next, the work one that I just mentioned. So many of us spend 40 hours a week at work or more, you know, whether you have an office job, a work from home job, an on the road job, caretaker, homemaker, they all count, they're all valid, and they all impact this overall happiness. Life needs a purpose, and a job that's purposeful and meaningful is huge, I feel. And the third one I mentioned, that's personal fulfillment. So do you have time for things like your creative outlets, your hobbies, travel? Do you have time to just decompress, socialize, whatever those things are for you? It's important. Really, what's the point of living if we never take time for ourselves, if we never have time to just decompress? Will we be happier abroad or anywhere? I'm speaking from personal experience. When one of these 3 things is out of whack or non-existent or in major conflict, we struggle as human beings. And I'll give you a personal example. I had major work stresses a few years ago, and these kind of turned into personal stresses. And one night I was just totally in my head. Tom forgot to empty the dishwasher. I had asked him earlier in the evening, and it just sent me into a mental tailspin one night, you know, total meltdown. And it made me think, just like that, I hated housework. I hated my house, I hated this town, I hated this damn country, and therefore I hated my life in about 2 minutes, you know, total meltdown. And then, I took a step back, and once I got a grip on reality, I was able to see what was really going on. I wasn't unhappy with France and all that stuff, but I was really, really unfulfilled at my job. Everything was wrong, and I knew it, and it was coming out everywhere. That dishwasher, it had nothing to do with the real problem. So back to that article I just mentioned, after rereading it, I had an aha moment because the things I mentioned, they make you the person that you are, in my opinion. Of course, there are other factors too, but stick with me. I've gone through patches where I haven't felt fulfilled at work, as I mentioned, or in my leisure time, or had too much money, not enough time, or too much time, not enough money, in relationships. And I feel like that stuff is normal, unfortunately. That's how life goes. And we ride that wave up, and if it comes crashing down, we hope we don't get sucked under. But if we work our hardest to maintain these 3 areas of fulfillment, I truly believe the rest is just noise. If we can nail those 3 things, as long as we're working toward them, we'll be all right. And it's as simple and it's as difficult as that. And the silly things that get us down day to day, a rude employee, traffic, I don't know, you tell me, cultural misunderstandings, whatever it is, those little things, they don't really matter when you're looking at the big picture. They're fun to complain about, but we complain and we move on. And to be clear, no one's going to have all 3 of these core things in perfect harmony all the time. Maybe far from it. Life can really feel like it's negotiating between what you have, what you want, and then the powers that be. But again, as long as we're working towards getting there and making positive changes to the best of our ability, that can be enough to just shift things in the right direction. And to give you another example, I was speaking to an acquaintance the other day, and she was extremely frustrated with her life as an expat. She happens to be a trailing spouse. I hate that term, but it was her husband who was sent abroad for his job, and the family moved with him. And she had been abroad for about 6 months at that point, and she's unable to secure a job abroad of her own because of her visa, so she's not working. And she told me she just wasn't adapting well. She hated pretty much everything about her new country, including the humidity, the language that she didn't speak, and even the culture. And she was definitely not happier abroad, at least not then, certainly not content. And she told me she basically sits home all day thinking about how she wants to go back to her home country and what a mistake this was. And we kept talking, we dug deeper, and she told me that she had left a hugely fulfilling job back in the US with a great team of colleagues that she considered friends. And she compromised and she moved abroad to make this career dream of her husband's come true. But she really missed her friends and her life back in a big US city. And she was absolutely resenting this new home because of what her life had become, and not because there was anything inherently wrong with her new place of residence, and this change in climate, the day-to-day pace, they're all annoying to her and something that, she'll have to get used to, but they weren't the real reasons for her unhappiness. So what did she decide to do? She made connecting with her girlfriends back home more of a priority. She started to spend more time networking and keeping in touch with her corporate contacts, something that was just a huge part of her identity back home. I don't know, there's more to say on this story, but just to make a long story short, getting someone to show you a different perspective and just take you out of your head for a little bit, it can take you from feeling like a mess and hating everything to feeling more in control and a lot better. Look, I truly believe that if you feel fulfilled in the areas that we discussed earlier, or at least you're working toward that, no matter where you live, what your age is, your place in life, you'll get by just fine. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to not have hiccups. You're not going to have a life without conflict and grief and sadness. You're still going to have bad days. But I feel like the bottom line is that at this point, I don't give France that power over my contentment. That contentment, it comes from within, kind of like if you put all your happiness in something external, in your spouse, in your kids, your job, the day you get a divorce, the kids go off to college, or you lose that job, it's going to be really hard to be okay with yourself, when you're without that thing. But if we work our hardest at finding and maintaining that relationship or relationships, meaningful work, a purpose of some sort, as well as a dynamic personal life, I feel like the rest is just in the details. And somehow those details, they all seem easier to handle and manage when you feel okay on the inside about the things that really matter and who you are. I certainly admit that has been a process. Getting to a point where you're content with yourself and your situation in life, it is a work in progress. And it's probably, truth be told, taken me my whole life to get to the point where I am now. It's about being content with who you are as a person And as you move through the world, let that lead you, regardless of where you physically are and what kind of hurdles are thrown at you. It's kind of baseline belief that you're okay. And it's something I didn't have when I was 20 years old as a totally naive college student lacking life experience. So I guess what I'm telling you is that I'm perfectly content here in France, in life, in love, and I hope that you're okay too, wherever you are. If you're watching this and you're not okay for whatever reason, maybe you're going through a really hard time right now, you're struggling with mental health, you're in a dark hole, you've lost your way, I don't know, life is hard. I want you to know that you matter. I want you to know your feelings, your struggles. No matter what anyone says, they are valid. And please know that things will get better, even if you can't see it right now. I've been there. Things have been hard for me the past couple of years. And above all, please keep going. I always remind myself of that. The world needs you. The world needs us. And I need you. Okay. And I just want to promise things will get better. You'll get through this. I appreciate you being here and watching this one to the end. And yeah, if you feel like it, I'd love to hear your thoughts below in the comments on contentment. And just those 3 pillars I brought up in this video, have they rung true for you and your life? If you have any additional thoughts. So talk to me below in the comments, and I'll see you back here on We in France soon. Salut!